Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A. I'm about 5 weeks out from my last frost date, which is usually around the end of April. But I like to plant out my tomatoes and my peppers and all of the warm season crops about 2 weeks after that in the middle of May, which means I'm about 7 weeks out from that point. All week I have been planting tomato seeds. I've been calling it Tomato Fest seed starting extravaganza, the thing where I do all of the seed planting of the tomatoes. I've already done my dwarfs, my slicers, and my Roma style tomatoes. And today I have my snackers. So snackers, I classify anything that is maybe saladette sized or those grape tomatoes, the pear-shaped tomatoes, and any of the cherry tomatoes. If you've been with me all of this week, we've already planted out 40 different containers of tomatoes. I thought I only had about 7 that I wanted to do in the snacker. That isn't true. I went through it yesterday just to make sure I had everything ready for today, and it turns out I have 10 more that I want to do. So there are about 50 plants, 50 varieties, 50 of the things that I am going to attempt to put out in my garden this year. I've done it before in the past. It's always interesting how creative I get, especially with some of my container gardens. I thought I was gonna take it easy this year. Apparently, I'm not. But let me show you what I'm gonna be planting this year for my snacker tomatoes. Now, I do promise that I always go into this with a plan. I have a list of everything I am going to plant out and what I'm gonna do. But somehow, I always end up with a little more than I expected. Every single time. But I have my 10 containers here ready to go. These are the 2.5-inch pots. If the seed is new to me this year, I'll only plant 2 seeds per container. But if it's an older seed, I'll plant 3. But I think there are only 2 in this batch that I've planted before because all the rest of them are new. And the 2 that I am doing again died on me last year. So I wanted to try them and actually taste the fruit. So this first round is all from Wild Boar. And the first one is the Atomic Fusion. This particular seed, or tomato variety I should call it, it's not just a seed, happened because it just looked so pretty. It's got all of the colors, and so I wanted to give it a try. And then we'll make sure we label this so we don't get confused later. And this one is the Olive Copper. This is a green tomato that has some reddish hues in it, hence the copper part of it. I have found recently that I actually like intentionally green tomatoes. I don't like unripe tomatoes in that green sense, but if the tomato is ripe at green, it's got an interesting flavor to it. So I've been hunting down more and more green tomatoes just to give them a try, because I have done the Brad's Atomic before and I really liked it, and that's kind of what kicked off the whole green tomato thing. And that was the Olive Copper. So I've been trying to see if more of these green tomatoes have some of those same flavors. Next up is a new one. This is the Flavor Grenade. I honestly got it because it promised to have what the name says, a lot of good flavor. And I will admit, I'm not big on snacking on cherry tomatoes, but I do love to ferment them and then put them on top of my focaccia, which is why I usually like to have a lot of, or at least a few, cherry tomato plants. I didn't have quite enough last year, and that's because a good handful of my cherry tomatoes died. And one of those that did not make it last year was the green doctor. I have been trying to get fruit from this plant for a couple years now and haven't been extremely successful. So I'm hoping this is going to be the year, but that would all depend on whether or not I actually get this packet open. This is another, obviously a green tomato. I may keep trying that one until I get a successful year out of it. But if it takes too much work, it's probably not one of those ones I'm going to keep. And that was Green Doctor. And this next one is also another one that didn't quite make it last year. And that is the Kryptonite. I got it for a combination of the fact that it is green and of the name reference. Because I am a nerd at heart, if you haven't picked that up in the last couple of days. Too many. I didn't need all of the seeds all at once. Almost made it into the hole. I'll not stick to the thingy. I am not winning this morning. That was the Kryptonite. And then I have a bunch of M.I. Gardner tomatoes that are new to me this year. First one being the Bubblegum Centiflora. I have never grown a tomato like this before. Apparently they grow in massive clusters. So I'm excited to see what that's like. Plus, the color combination of this tomato is fascinating. Wasn't sure those seeds would have come apart. They did, which is good. Bubble gum. Let me go grab my tape real quick so I can close up that container. I like to use washi tape to reclose my seed packets, even if they don't need the extra help, because it helps me remember what I've opened before. Sometimes when you're doing like 50 tomatoes in a season, you don't always remember on the fly. This one is called Curtain Call, and it's got those fun green stripes, and it's got some of those purple colors to it, which is everything I love in a tomato. Well, it's not on straight, but it's on. Next is Solar Eclipse. I've done one called Solar Flare, but that's a slicer. And this one looks like it's got some nice purple shoulders. So as long as I don't grow the two in the same season, I won't get them confused. But if this is any good, then I might just. At some point, maybe I'll just have to do a themed year of, it has to be celestial or space inspired, or it has to be some kind of cultural reference. I don't know, that could be fun. Oh, the solar eclipse. And I have not been closing those. So let me do that real quick. I get too into the actual planting of the seeds. And the last M.I. Gardner one is the Tangerine Crim. I'm trying to remember why I grabbed this one. Oh, because they were talking about this being the sweetest tomato they have ever grown on M.I. Gardner and on the website. And I am always looking for sweet tomatoes. So we'll see if this is actually a sweet tomato or not. Granted, that is part of the reason I really love the orange and yellow tomatoes, is because they've got a sweetness to them that I prefer. And then the last tomato that I almost forgot to even put on this list, because I got the seeds quite a while ago, that is the Sweetheart Cherry Tomato. It just looked so shiny. I don't even know how to explain it. It didn't look like a tomato. It looks like a piece of candy. And that's saying something because normally I do not go for red tomatoes. So now I am going to, of course, clean up the table and then get the vermiculite on top of this. I have a new, it's not new, I have a third heat mat set up to hold this tray because the other ones are still full. I haven't had any of my tomatoes pop up yet, but I'm holding out hope. And I'm also going to move the herbs that are still under, well, there's not any herbs in the humidity dome anymore. I've got some spinach left in the original herb humidity dome under the grow light that I'm going to put in this tray as well, so I can free up that shelf. And the heat might kickstart some of those spinach seeds because that is taking a little longer than I'd prefer right now. And I am going to remember to spray. So all three of these are the Anna spinach. So maybe it's a variety, I don't know. So this heat mat I normally use to help my bread rise, but for now it is going to have to help the plants. So that is all of my tomatoes finally planted out. Did a few more than I expected, and I got a shelf emptied out, so that's exciting. I am planning on getting all of these seedlings outside today. It is already 77 degrees out and we haven't even hit noon yet. So everybody's going outside, but before I do that, I will definitely show you how all of these seedlings are doing because I've been promising all week that today would be the day that I showed you where we're at with everything. Since we are right here, I will show you the shelf that was right behind me. We have the Livingston daisies doing really well. This one is a combination of strawflower and sweet William. I think there's also an agastache in there, if I remember correctly. And we'll skip right over the empty shelf that is reading 82 in the house right now. And down here, we have the hollyhocks that look so gorgeous. And then we have the paper daisies, which you can't see right now. Yeah, there it is. You see it, like right there? We have a bud. And then the garlic and the bunching onions are all right here as well. And they're getting really tall. They almost need a trim. I don't know if leeks should be trimmed, so I'm gonna leave the leeks alone. They have about a week and a half before they go outside, so I think we'll be okay. But I'll show you the other shelf. So this is the other shelf. We have all of the straw flowers up at the top there, and I need to drop them down yet another level. Here we have all of the herbs that have been sprouting, minus, of course, some of the ones that I have moved on to heat mats. And down here, we have the cabbage, the bok choy. Oh no, here's where the agastache is. And so that is behind it, the, ooh, why can't I think of the name at the moment? I'll walk away and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's that. I can think of what the flower looks like, but I can't think of the name right now. But then we also have the coleus, which I think I'm gonna pot up fairly soon. Echinacea. It's echinacea. I told you I'd think about it as soon as I stopped thinking about it. But I'll take you to the game room and show you all of that. So here you can see all of the peppers that have sprouted so far. This is tray 1. And then we have an empty shelf waiting for the tomatoes to sprout. And then we have shelf number 2 of baby peppers. But like I said, nothing has germinated in here or in here. So we're just playing the waiting game. And then normally I keep these doors closed, but to show you these plants right here, I had to move the bulbing onions and the tray of lettuce up here because it was getting too tall for the shelves downstairs. So we are starting to utilize these cages right here. These guys look so good. There you have it. That's how all of my seedlings are doing so far. I think they'll be really excited to get outside. Most of them have spent the last 2 days coming in and out of the house, and they've really been enjoying that. That's why the straw flowers are as ginormous as they are right now. So I'm definitely gonna get them back out today. But that also means that Tomato Fest is over. Now we just wait to see what actually sprouts. I'm excited to see what the harvest looks like this year. I believe next week I'm planning to do a lot of my flowers, so my zinnias, my sunflowers, my nasturtiums, and things like that. So if you want to follow me on this seed starting journey and then see what the garden looks like as the season goes, feel free to subscribe down below. Hit that bell to do all the things, to get all of the notifications. And I do also have an Instagram and Threads account if you want to check me out over there as well. I'm curious where you're at in your gardening season so far. Are you still planning? Do you know what you're going to purchase at the garden center? Have you been starting seeds? Tell me down below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.